I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Lard. Is Lard the name of the band?
By Lard.
I want to be a drug-sniffing dog. This is for the big homie Alan.
Yep.
For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up at Middle America with Vin and Sori.
Look at this. He said Lard was a collaboration between Jello Biafra, which is Dead Kennedys.
Biafra. And Ministry. That's going to be fun.
So.
Okay. So, that's Lard. And if you, dear listener, would like a song review, there's multiple ways to do that. My favorite is the community option, $1 at the gate gets you in at Patreon, where you get recruited by a alliance leader, Kellendros, Chris Culp, all those people. I don't know if Kellendros is an alliance leader. You may even get a cryptic Damon Sage type response to get you into the true cult black letter, black metal thingamajiggy. But if you're a filthy capitalist like Sori, and you don't want to work with a group, $125 gets you straight to the head of the line, which is what the big homie did. And you get a lifetime subscription to our backstage VIP area once the website is finished and complete. And if Emily Forever doesn't kill me, we're going to be able to do that pretty soon. Okay, I want to be a drug where's my computer?
I'm assuming you put it that way.
I found it. I have to do everything in this place. Excuse me, dear listener. Vincent has to bring up the lyrics. No, I don't care about the accessibility options, okay? All right, let's start it.
Whoa, he wasn't playing.
Oh, wow. You know what? This is 1997.
What is all the 1997 songs that we're doing?
If he was around post 9/11 with the what do you call that? The airport security people. What do you call
Oh my
it?
word! Yeah.
Don't grab my junk, bro. Was that what it? Don't touch my junk, bro. What was it? Don't touch
I don't know.
The TSA. TSA with the don't touch my junk and all the craziness. Yeah. So if he thought the customs people were bad, you know, the TSA is
way worse.
is crazy. The real issue here is the government overreach and people who
leadership
are in positions of authority.
Yeah.
Are able to violate people's rights in a way that it would be unthinkable for common citizens. And, you know, that's why, you know, I'm where I am right now. I'm working with community organizers, BLM community organizers and such. And like, you would not believe how difficult it is to get people to focus on dealing with specific policies. You know, people want to march and they want to tear down statues and they want to, you know, make all these ridiculous slogans or whatever. And then when you're like, okay, let's connect the protest to qualified immunity. Here are the names of our local senators. Here's the name of our governor. I've got contacts in the media. We can put significant pressure on these people to initiate qualified immunity.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's a winnable argument, especially when you consider Maine as a constitutional carry state, and so there's a lot of constitutionalism here in Maine, and so it doesn't even have to be a BLM type message. But there's just a disconnect. It's people, you know, people want to be angry, they want to march, they want to do this and that, and they don't want to think like structurally, what is the problem? And like, this is a problem. You've got people in the government, man, like police, you know what, I mean, it's a fact. There are multiple stories of police officers who are planting drugs on people.
Yeah.
Over and over again. And these people, they just go on.
Yep.
And the killers of Breonna Taylor to this moment have not been charged. Took them at least 100 days to terminate that guy's employment. The killer of Daniel Shaver is walking around now. And it's unbelievable to me, like, that this is happening in our country.
Wow.
And these people have this kind of immunity. And here we go. Here we go. And so it's really interesting. He starts with the drug-sniffing dog because of all the government agents, the drug-sniffing dog is the most innocent of the bunch. Right? So it's really smart, you know, because he starts off, I want to be a drug-sniffing dog. I can snort coke all day long, bite my master when it suits me, get off on diminished capacity. And, you know, this is really a double entendre because, you know, people in government get off when they do crazy stuff.
Yep.
I want to be a customs man and snoop through your suitcase. That's a funny story. I was in, I had this mega water gun called the Liquidator when I was a kid. And we were taking a trip to Jamaica to visit my dad. And it was such a fun time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm going to bring the Liquidator. I'm going to destroy everything and everyone with this Liquidator because it was like better than a Super Soaker. And in Jamaica, there's not a lot of, you know, whatever. So we bought these little plastic dinky guns that we were going to give to the kids because we weren't going to be able to play without us buying the guns. But then I had my Liquidator. And so I put my Liquidator in the suitcase, land in Jamaica. And then custom agents go, I want this. I just a gun, a firearm. I'm like, lady, it's green and red and plastic. It's a water gun. She's like, me go and have to look at this, you know. So she takes my suitcase, takes my Liquidator, and gives me my suitcase back. She literally stole my water gun.
Wow.
Literally stole it.
She probably had a kid at home.
100%. I was like, where's my Liquidator? They were like, what? And the boss, whatever, I was like, where's my water gun? They were like, we don't know. Here's your water gun. No, like, these are the little mini pistols that I got. Where's my big water gun? Where's my water gun? Oh, yeah. I never forgot it. I never forgot it. I was 8.
Oh,
my mother told me, she's like, you can bring that if you want. You're just not going to be able to use it. I'm like, Dad's going to let me use it. She's like, no, I'm not. She's like, I'd be very surprised if you made it out of the airport with that toy. I'm like, pfft.
How did you know that? I would never guess.
well, I mean, it's Jamaican. Jamaicans are, I love Jamaican, man, but they're crooked as hell, especially to Americans, like, because they believe that all Americans are just filthy rich. So it's one of those, like, you're not gonna miss it type of situations. She only had one opportunity to get a gun like that, and I'm sure
you're an 8-year-old boy.
I'm sure that she had an 8-year-old boy at home that she wanted to have, a liquidator and all that. So all's fair, I suppose.
I can't.
Yeah. And they basically said, well, when you come back home, we'll have it for you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, they're like, we can't let you in the country with it, but when you come back home, you come to the desk. So I came to the desk. I was like, where's my liquidator? They're like, what? They're like, you go and miss your flight. Go on.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was no joke. It was terrible. Terrible situation. But yeah, man, these people are. It's one of those things. I don't think that there's anything inherently wrong with police officers, or I don't think becoming a police officer makes you a corrupt person. I don't think becoming a TSA agent makes you a corrupt person. The issue is all of us are already corrupt. So, people say absolute power corrupts. Absolutely. That's ridiculous. Power cannot corrupt anyone. The only reason that power corrupts anyone is because now the impediments to us expressing our sinfulness are
taken out of the way.
When you have absolute power. So there's always been sick bastards who wanted to feel up an attractive woman. If there wasn't laws against that, that would be rampant. I mean, it's rampant now, and there are laws against it. So now you put a badge on a person and you call him a government official, and you tell him he's got the right to feel up women and all the rest of it. He's gonna go and do that shit because now he's got the power to do so. So it's the job of the governed, according to Thomas Jefferson, to say, no, we're not going to let you do that, right? And so now, it's the same thing. As sure as Rodney was a king.
What's this, though? Hold on. We've
got ways to make you sing.
The only thing I know about Alpo
Alpo's
is
dog food.
Dog food, yeah.
Right, so I want to be a drug-sniffing dog. He's saying cocaine beats Alpo.
Yeah, but he didn't say that after the drug-sniffing dog part. He said that after being the snoop that goes and cries and...
What he's saying is he's making connection between dogs and these government officials. He's basically saying that they're just animals. It's the life, it's the stink, it's the attitude, And you can tell, and these people are walking. I just read this horrific story about this white lady, and she collapsed in a Taco Bell. She was going into some crisis. Her blood pressure dropped rapidly and all the rest of it, and the cop was telling her, you're gonna walk out of here, and she couldn't walk, and finally they called the fire department, and then the EMTs showed up, and they panicked once they found her blood pressure had dropped precipitously. They put her in a gurney, and the cop was telling the fire department to make the girl walk out on her own recognizance, and the EMT was like, get out of here, this is our patient now. These people, they've gone absolutely crazy. They've gone absolutely crazy. And of course the cop had multiple cops around him, and all the good apples just stood there and did nothing like they always do. Like they always do. We can seize everything, houses, cars, and life savings, keep the loot for ourselves, fake drug charges work every time. Yeah, I mean, it's really mind-boggling. In 30, 40 years, if we get these reforms done that need to be done, and we start telling kids, we allowed this in America, we allowed these cops to go and kill people in their sleep, and it took 100 days to at least fire them. We allowed cops to stand on people's neck and choke them to death. I think it was Tony Timpa, I think the guy's name was, white dude. He was like, I can't breathe or something like that. And the cop said, I don't care. And they killed this guy. In a very similar way to the way George Floyd died. They just released, the New York Times just released the conversation on the footage with George Floyd. I didn't even read it. Somebody put an excerpt on there, and I'm like, nope, not reading it, not covering it, not going to shoot a video on it. Nope. Because I know what my limits are. We all saw the video, and we all saw the videos. Enough's enough. I don't want to put that out in the ether, because. So people, once we get this stuff figured out, once we start educating our kids in the next generation, they're gonna be like, what?
I knew someone that worked with, prisons and jails and stuff, and they said, I remember them telling me, I was pretty young, they were like, none of these people did it. Everybody always says, I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Tell them to our judge.
And it seems like, at the time when I heard it, I was like, I thought for a second, well, maybe they didn't do it. And then I was like, oh, well, everybody's saying it. It's like, okay, everybody, and people don't take responsibility. But then it's a pretty terrifying thought when you realize as you get older that they plant drugs on people, they'll kill somebody, throw the gun beside them,
100%.
all these things that they're doing. It's like, wow, oh my word. That girl had the drugs, it was marijuana. She was with her friends and let the friends go off, took her, and then raped her all night long. It's just, wow, like that's just gonna happen. You're just gonna do that. That's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Yeah, this is where, people say, I had this big long discussion with Kellen Dross about original sin. But this is where, to me, if you don't believe in original sin, then it gets very dangerous. Mm-hmm. Because if all of us truly believed in original sin, then we would not give these people this type of authority.
No, you're right.
The very reason you have checks and balances in government is the assumption that people are going to abuse the authority.
Yep.
Well, what is it about human beings that makes it so that they want to abuse the authority? I don't care what you call it. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what you call it. I call it sin. You can call it propensity towards selfishness or propensity. I don't care what you call it. People are bad. And the more power you give them, the less restraints they have, the more damage they're going to do in a given society. Those are just facts. Mm-hmm. So, if absolute power corrupts absolutely, then any form of power that a person gets is going to have a corrupting influence on them. We all know this. It's all in the collective zeitgeist, whether we admit it or not. That's the story behind the Lord of the Rings. There's a reason why anybody that got the ring became evil. We all know. Mm-hmm. Nobody looks at the Lord of the Rings and goes, that's a stupid premise. Mm-hmm. And nobody, I've never heard anyone say, well, after watching Lord of the Rings, I've never heard anyone say, well, I could have rocked the ring and not been corrupted by it. Like, everybody gets corrupted by the ring, and the ring doesn't do anything to anyone. It just gives you the absolute power. So, anyway, but then I want to join the Christian Coalition so I can molest my children.
I felt so shocked when they said that, even though,
None suspect me, because it's true, though. It's true.
That's what was so
Sexual
terrible.
predators, it is a fact, sexual predators love to gravitate towards churches in particular because of a couple things. One is Christianity is big on redemption, so you get a second shot a lot of times if you're a sexual predator. Two, it is a fact that on many occasions, especially when it comes to corrupt male sexuality, that the Christian church, Protestant or Catholic, and I'm saying this as a Christian, Protestant or Catholic, have had a track record for generations. It's not one or two instances now. Because I'm an insider, and so is she. For multiple generations, the Christian church in the West has made a habit of protecting sexual predators and telling the survivors of these predators to keep quiet. Mm-hmm. So much so that I'm not even going to get into all of the ugliness of it, but there is no difference between a TSA perverted bastard doing it and a religious person doing it, other than, in my opinion, a religious person is way more corrupt because the TSA agent is using the state power, which is not a sacred thing.
Right.
Whereas the Christian, whatever, is using God's power, right, which is a sacred thing. You're taking God's authority that he has given you in order to serve people. You're taking it to serve yourself, whether you're fleecing. He didn't even talk about fleecing people for money, which is another thing. You've got this pandemic, people aren't working, and these preachers are still saying, this is a really good time for you to sow your seed. Sow your seed, if you don't know, dear listener, is give us money. This is a really good time because now your faith is really being tested and you can really show that. That's a form of I don't want to use the word lightly, but it's a form of rape to me to do that to somebody who's in a desperate situation and truly believes in God's power and truly believes that you are some conduit from God's power, and you do this to people. He didn't even touch on that. He could have made the entire song about all the various ways in which people are raped and fleeced by the
by the church. But I think that
specifically people in authority, but in the church.
authority in the church. Yeah, I think that I like the fact that he didn't just focus on one.
Right.
Like, it shocked me that he brought the church into it, because I thought we were only talking about the government and, you know, but then when he brought the church, and I was like, yo, like, the concept itself didn't shock me because we've heard it before in a song where they address that.
Right.
But I didn't expect it in this song because it didn't seem like it was even going that direction.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad that he did, because it's the overall issue of people in authority abusing their authority.
Yeah.
And it's a problem.
Yeah. And it is funny. I want to be a San Francisco cop so I can speed and run red lights. Remember that time? It was like 2 o'clock in the morning, the cop just broke the red light, and I'm like, that right there encompasses the entire mentality of these people.
Yep.
Because they just feel like the law doesn't apply to them.
Yep.
They just, and it doesn't. They're right.
They're right
to feel that way. They're right to feel that way.
Yeah,
and
it's like I said too, that time when I was coming home late at night and the cop was tailgating somebody. Like, I don't think that cops should be tailgating people. Like, if you run their numbers and you're like, okay, but the reason that you're supposed to stay a car length away from someone is so you don't cause an accident.
Yeah.
So when you're riding right up on the person's bumper, and the thing is, like, whether, you know, there are some people that cops just make them nervous. Like, whether they've done something or they haven't, and people are like, well, don't do anything, you don't have a reason to be nervous. That's not true. I'm driving around, I haven't done anything, but I always feel nervous when I see a cop. I hit the brake every single time, whether I'm speeding or I'm not speeding.
Oh, Johan, you know, I send Johan to get the Red Bulls, and he goes, he texted me back, he said, Dad, there's cops out there. So I brought him up, I'm like, don't be afraid of those people. Look him right in the eye and whatever, but I still went with him because he didn't want any parts of it. And I get it, you know. I'm not raising my sons to be afraid of anybody except for Allah. So, you know, I'm going to tell them, you know, how to handle themselves with these people. You know, I'm going to have another conversation with him later, how to handle themselves with these people, but you know, this qualified immunity, and the other thing is, quite frankly, Johan is light enough to where, you know, and he's small enough to where he's not a threat to these people, whereas Dorian is a completely different story. But the big thing is you got to have qualified immunity, duty to act, duty to report. So qualified immunity means you're just like the rest of us. You go and kill somebody in their sleep, you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Duty to act is if the body cam is on and one of your Gestapo buddies is beating the hell out of a civilian with his hands tied behind his back, you have to intervene. If you don't, we're going to charge you with assault, same as the officer. And duty to report means if your buddy does some shit and it comes out that you knew about it and you didn't report, we're going to charge you the same degree of crime as your buddy. So this whole blue wall thing or whatever, you've got to create laws that disincentivize loyalty to the blue code and then turns it to the criminal cop to say, you violated the code because now you put both of us in a very terrible situation. I could lose my pension and potentially my life on your bullshit. So then these are things that will help reverse the culture.
Right.
And those are the things that we need to be looking at. All this bullshit about the Dixie Chicks being called the Chicks and Lady Antebellum being called Lady and Aunt Jemima getting fired and Robert and let's blow up Mount Rushmore, which, you know, when I talk to my native friends, I'm with it. Go ahead, blow it up. I don't freaking care. Screw those people. But the real issue is...
Blow up what?
Mount Rushmore. Apparently it was like Blackfoot land or whatever, and it was... It was just horrible stuff. I'll show it to you later. Yeah. Great, but you know that is not policy, and the thing is that I think the right-wing media is doing a very, very good job about making that the issue. Just like the left-wing media was trying to make Russia the issue so that people could forget about what they did to Bernie in 2016. Which worked perfectly.
Yep.
I'm pretty certain that the right-wing media, all this focus on the statues and they're having a conniption on the statues distracts people because it makes people think they're winning.
Exactly. Right.
You got these silly black folks who really believe that because Aunt Jemima and because Tucker Carlson is acting like he's hurt over it, they really think they're getting somewhere.
Yeah.
Hello!
Matter of fact,
policies that created Mr. Chauvin are still in place to this moment. You silly people!
It makes it worse because there's a lot of white people that don't have any tolerance for any of this. And then when you're pulling down the statues, you're changing the Aunt Jemima thing, you're doing this and that, they're like, wow, these people are always, you want something else? It's like, no, all these small things are not actual wins. So
Just
you know what I mean?
metaphorical.
It's like
It's completely metaphorical.
right. So then when the actual big stuff comes up, they can more easily push it to the side because they're like, well, we did all that other stuff. You know what I mean? It gives them kind of like a
100%.
to be able to overlook the big stuff, which
And that's why qualified immunity, duty to act, duty to report, things like that. The body cam thing, in I think it's Colorado. If the cop turns off the body cam, they're gonna assume guilt. Things like that. Like, here's the thing. It's like, if you are a government official, you actually need to be held to higher standards than regular people. I don't believe they should be held to the same standards as us.
No.
They should be held to a higher standard. People that work for me all the time, I always say, we're not going to hold ourselves to a lower standard than the people that work for us.
right.
That's ridiculous.
Right.
So it's so frustrating when and I'm talking to these organizers, and God bless them, and they have all this energy and all the rest of it, and they're just happy to be on the news. It's like, it's so easy to manipulate the news and get on the news. Like, I've done it on a multitude of occasions. Like, getting on the news is not difficult. Getting out in the media is not difficult. But it's like, it's this disorganized, no vision, no understanding type of thing. And then I've got another group over here, and they're like, abolish police! Disband the Portland police immediately. I'm like, you idiot! How does that help us? I talked to one of them, I'm like, are you talking about literally, like, because some defund, there's a group that says defund the police, and what they mean is reallocate resources. These people are talking about abolishing the police. I'm like, you silly person, we are 12 to 15% of the population. Think that through. But anyway, this is a very, very good song, and it's one of those songs where it's more relevant now than it was when it was written, subhanAllah.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have
Terrible.
the Department of Homeland Security, we didn't have the Patriot Act, we didn't have any of that stuff in '97. We didn't have the Verizon scandal, we didn't have the WikiLeaks, what WikiLeaks has shown us, we didn't have what Edward Snowden has showed us.
Right. Right.
And it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling stuff. So for that, it gets a 10 from me because of cultural relevance, and it was actually pretty good.
And it's a 9.7 for me.
Very intelligent literary devices that were used in the lyrics here. There you go. Vin out.
Sori out.
Gone.